Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review, spoiler-free, for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is a 2023 film from Marvel Studios, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours and 30 minutes. As of the recording of this video, has a Rotten Tomato scores of 80% from the critics, audience 96% score. I am leaning heavily towards the audience. I'll get into that in a minute. Quick synopsis. In Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, our beloved band of misfits are looking a bit different these days. Peter Quill still reeling from the loss of Gamora, but the team must rally around him to defend the universe along with protecting one of their own. A mission that, if not completed successfully, could quite possibly lead to the end of the Guardians as we know them. This movie is directed and written by James Gunn. So normally I've been trying to be a little more structured with my reviews and actually type out more of a script. In this one, I have few. This one I'm gonna do it a little bit more from the heart because I think that's kind of what this movie really calls for. I have a few points outlined, but for the most part, I'll be this will really be kind of a conversation. So let's touch on some different points that we have here for this film. But first, let me tell you, overall, I love this film. I love the experience of going out and watching this movie in the theater, knowing that it was the end of this trilogy and the end of possibly James Gunn for the foreseeable future at Marvel, and also a lot of these characters that we may not see them in for a while. Um, yeah, it has been quite a journey. So there's definitely a lot of emotional baggage that comes in with this film because we've been watching Guardians movies for almost a decade now, including some appearances in other films and stuff. But what I thought my favorite part of this film was is that as I was watching this film, I wasn't worried about the larger Marvel universe. I wasn't worried about the next phase. I wasn't worried about setting up the next 2-3 years. I was just in this film. I was living in this movie, and that is such a really such a good feeling. It is something that we've experienced with some films in past phases, and the fact that I can enjoy this movie just for being this movie and how good it was, as opposed to worrying about all the implications to the larger story. That's what I want from these Marvel movies, and I think that's something that has led to some of the missteps that I think people are calling out in more recent times. But I'm not here to talk about the Marvel universe as a whole. Let's keep talking about Guardians. Let's start with the story. The story is overall pretty simple, but we definitely get a lot more. It's an emotional journey to find out how these characters have grown over the trilogy. And I think in this film you will find out who James Gunn's favorite character is from that he's been writing for all this time. If you haven't figured it out yet, it'll become very apparent here. But also, I really like that all the characters get their own time. All the arcs feel very much complete as of this film. Even beginning with the first film and adding a few characters throughout the second film and the other journeys. This is itself like the conclusion of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it just really feels very finite. And I think that story that James Gunn brought was not so much. We didn't need a very complicated story, but we needed a story that would bring us finality, and that's definitely what was delivered. Um, Another thing that just made this movie very enjoyable. James Gunn is a great storyteller, and he does this a lot through music. I think every song. I think I James Gunn has very good music taste when it comes to and in my opinion, I think he just knows what he finds meaning in songs and relates it to his story, and even multiple meanings that can relate to the same things that are happening on the screen. The music is in and out of the movie interwoven with everything else that's happening very seamlessly. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're just using this song because it's popular now or anything like that. These are old songs that have been around in the zeitgeist for a long time. Some of them may be a little overused. Some of them may not be, but like overall, everything really makes sense and just builds upon that. So the story is the foundation. The music is the all the decorations that you're seeing all throughout this house that James Gunn's built. Now let's talk about the action. There is a lot of really cool, like very many action sequences. But I think, and I've seen this a little bit on the internet, we have um, the Guardians finally get their own hallway scene. If you know what I'm talking about, the hallway scene from Daredevil season one, which now has kind of become the goal for a lot of these action films. If you're making an action movie, you want a sequence that's going to give your audience that feeling of full and complete immersion, just fluidity in the action. The CGI looks great as things are happening, so it's not tied down by that. And this movie has a lot of CGI, right? Because some of its main characters are completely CGI, like Rocket and Groot. Um, and some of the other characters are augmented by the CGI. So I think everything just really worked. The sequences are fantastic. The introduction of new characters via some of these action sequences, and yeah, this is definitely a an action movie that brings you some drama and comedy, and it just really everything works together. There's some really fun stunts that you can see. I think it'd be really neat to go behind the scenes and figure out how they did some of those things. um, Before I get into the characters, I just want to talk about the sets. I think, if you saw the Guardian special for the holiday special, you know that we begin things in nowhere, but we are transported to some of the most interesting worlds we've seen. I think throughout, but not because they are weird or different or like really cool looking, just because of how kind of almost mundane and everyday they kind of they feel as a facade. But then when you explore more of the world, things get real interesting. Just some really interesting creative choices. I don't know that it's for everyone. There's a whole sequence that we've seen from the trailers, when they go into this like living organism, which is weird. Like it's just random weird stuff that really feels like it belongs in a movie like this, because that's what the Guardians have really given us. Uh, I think another thing is that everything that James Gunn's been setting up throughout the first few films, a lot of those things get a big payoff in this film. We get some really nice callbacks, some really cool things that happen that you come back and think, I want to watch the other two films again just to go back and get that feeling, and then maybe watch Guardians Volume 3 once more. So let's get into the characters. I kind of put these in semi order of like my favorite performance. Um, First of all, Bradley Cooper, and of course Sean Gunn with the body, the motion capture, as Rocket. Rocket deliver the performance of, like, I don't know if you can nominate motion capture people slash voice actors in a together role for bringing a character to life like this, but it was just such a good performance, full of emotion, because it's hard for us to, as an audience, to connect with a character that's not, that's fully CGI, but I think the people behind that really bring it to life. Rocket had, and Rocket's had one of the best arcs throughout all of the films, and I really enjoyed what we get in this one. Really, really good stuff. Also, Karen Gillan as Nebula. I think Nebula is another one of the characters that has had the most growth, because she's gone through the most. Right, she has suffered a loss. She's been an outcast. She's been an enemy, and she's also been redeemed, and now she's working with the Guardians. So like it is just a culmination of everything that she's gone through, and how she now has formed relationships with this group of weirdos. So um Dave Batista as Drax, he delivers some of the most emotional stuff in the film. I think Drax has been a misunderstood character that James Gunn has kind of redefined, and I hope that this remains going forward the way that we look at Drax. So I'll be curious to see what happens. I know Dave Bautista kind of mentioned that he's kind of done with this character, but yeah, Dave Bautista he's just a fantastic actor. He's maybe the best wrestler turned actor in Hollywood working right now. So let's talk about Zoe Saldana as Gamora. Uh, Zoe had probably one of the tougher tasks because she's playing a character completely different to who she's been playing over the past few films, right? She is playing Gamora, who has been displaced from 2014 and is now in this world, trying to figure out what to do with her life after the events of Endgame. And this is a completely different character, even from the first film, where she would be more like that. Uh, yeah, she delivers a great performance. She's one of the people that has probably some of the coolest action in this film as well. Uh, a lot of fun to look at Zoe in this role, and I hope to see more of her in the future as well. Next, we have Pom Clementif as Mantis, who is one of the goofiest characters in Guardians, but I think she brings a lot of the heart into this film. If you haven't seen the holiday special, you should definitely watch it because it really, I think Mantis gets the most out of that. Um, at least the event, like as far as her things that are happening, I think Mantis gets the most out of that special as part of growth. So it really kind of brings her up to speed with everyone that we've seen for an additional movie. Um, let's talk about Vin Diesel as Groot. Uh, Groot is just such a fun character. I feel like he has been in the past one of the characters that gets the emotional scenes, but I think in this role, Groot is really just laying in the background and providing the best assistance that he can. We do have a few things. He's not as heavily used as some of the other characters, but I think Groot, his character design as it changes and evolves throughout the films, it's just really cool. And just kind of seeing that as a comic fan as well, Groot really gets it. Let's talk about Chris Pratt as Peter Quill and the Star Lord. I think he had a tough task to also deal with. He has a lot. He has experienced so much loss throughout these films, and Star Lord just wants a family, but I don't think we fully understand what he wants. And I think in this film we get a completion to his arc as well. He finally understands what he's really been looking for this whole time. Um, and it's just very like it's somebody that it's kind of guiding you through the film almost as an audience surrogate because we've been on this journey together. Also, I want to talk about Will Poulter as Adam Warlock. I didn't know why they had cast Will Poulter in this role until I watched this film. I think if anything, Adam Warlock may be the most divisive character because of some of the choices that have been made, but I really enjoyed his performance. Will Poulter is just delivering um, a great performance in the role that he has been asked in the character that he's been tasked to be. So it definitely makes perfect sense why he is now Adam Warlock. And last but not least, at least from these the main cast, Chiwetel Ejiofor. I love his role in Peacemaker, and in here as the High Evolutionary. He is such a fearsome villain, but he also has like this grandiose, above it all like type of performance that is just fantastic. I think he brings some intensity to the role. He's definitely a great MCU villain, and I'm very glad that they picked the High Evolutionary to really explore a little bit of the more sinister side of what these villains can do. Right, not every villain is out to destroy the universe, but sometimes some of those intentions may even be worse. What they're looking for. Um, all right, real quick, I just want to touch upon the cameos. Obviously, James Gunn brought everyone, all his friends are in this film. You may have seen some stuff in the trailers. You may be seeing some stuff on social media now of like these people finally showing that they're in the movie. which is really fun. They're not distracting at all. I think they just like you see it, but it kind of evolves with the film. It feels very natural. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'll probably make a second video with my favorite cameos, and what I think they could be moving forward, if anything. Also, let's talk about the larger MCU finally. And by that, I just mean comparing this to some of the other films. Um, I'm very fresh with this film still, but this may be the best trilogy in the MCU. I don't think it's for me. It's not my favorite trilogy in just comic book films, but I think it's really high up there. But yeah, comparing it to things like Iron Man or Spider Man or Captain America or even Thor, like this one has overall pound for pound probably just like the movies are very good. Um, whether I think two is not as good. I think this is better than two, and maybe even better than one. Yeah, I'm sure it's better than one. Well, for me, I like it better than one. It may be a little recency bias. I need to go back and rewatch everything. But yeah, the trilogy is super solid. Um, I'm also interested to see now. There's like I said, this is a movie that really focuses on itself, but of course, everything plays a part into the larger story. So I'm interested to see now, once we process this and enjoy this film as its own, if we see some of this stuff have implications for the future. Um, all right, so yeah, overall, this was a great experience. I had a great time at the theater. I can't wait to watch this movie again. I'll probably make a few more videos about this film, and I think when I'm really excited about a film, I definitely want to make more content on it because I know that I'm not the only one looking for more content about this film. So stay tuned to the channel for all that. But yeah, we'll have some really fun stuff coming up. I know that some of the other guys are watching it. Clay said he's watching it this weekend, and Josh said he's watching it with his family. So we'll definitely have a full Guardians episode on the channel, like a live stream. So leave us some comments, leave us some questions, let us know what you thought about this film. Like I said, I'm gonna try to watch it again. It is free comic book weekend this Saturday as I'm recording this day prior. So I'm very excited to go into that. But yeah, let me know what you thought about this film. Let me know how it ranks with your MCU rankings. If you think this is the best trilogy in the MCU or even in comics overall, and all that stuff. Let me know your favorite performances, cameos. Let's try not to spoil this. There are two end credit scenes that I think you definitely want to stick around for at the end of the film. But as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.